Hello everyone, I'm about to start a fairly long video here, probably about 30 to 35 minutes at the very least. So let's get right on it here. Basically, this is just going to be a lot of information, and I'm just going to go for it here type deal. There's a lot of things on my mind type deal, and I'm a little behind on recording and whatnot, so let's just get some information out, and then maybe I will elaborate on some of the things I say later on in separate videos and whatnot, because this probably will be one of those where I just kind of talk a lot and it's going to be hard to understand all of it at once and whatnot. So just in general, I don't know if it's just my personal lack of patience or what's been going on exactly lately, but it seems like there's a lot kind of going on in the sense of esoteric, and things are just becoming more and more obvious how nonsensical everything is and how much things are being pushed, and people are starting to understand it. So let's just get into some of the reasons why and how these things work and all that, and then you can learn some stuff. We can learn together and help other people, because there's awful stuff that people are involved with that they shouldn't be, and doing awful things themselves that they shouldn't be, because they are scared of whatever. They're scared of their safety, or they're scared to look different, be looked upon differently from others, or they're scared of losing something or not getting something, or these things that people worry about in their mind that they can't control and whatnot. And if they just do it and it's done with, it's over. You don't have to worry about things in your mind anymore, that kind of thing. So in general, it just seems like things are getting so much more and more obvious of how fake everything is pretty much in this world going on, quote unquote. It's like everything that goes on TV and in people's minds is reality, which that's the complete opposite pretty much. Nothing really is going on in general with a lot of different topics and whatnot, because that's the whole mindset. The whole point of everything is for people to worry about things that they can't control, and so people can worry about stress about things, or worry about someone else that they can't control, or they're so worried about someone else's opinion, or they're worried about how they're going to survive, or how they're going to do this or that, when you can control a certain amount of it, and you do what you can for it. But for the most part, it's all on purpose. Everything that you can think of, if you can think of it in whether it's just a common sense type survival type thing, or if it's an esoteric type thing, or it's a mental type thing, it's all a big, it's a big thing to really keep everyone down and everyone confused and upset and divided and everything. That's, just the basic of everything. You can, have any sort of mindset or whatever and kind of understand that, whether you believe in whatever nonsense about things that may or may not be going on, which most aren't, I can promise you that. And some things that are going on are completely staged and controlled by people that you wouldn't understand exist, or whatever, groups, and how everything connects and whatnot. So eventually I want to get really good videos out about the connection between from the top down, because if you understand from the top down, you'll pretty much understand anything, in my opinion. It's a lot easier if you understand the top down than pieces of the middle and the bottom and like the little pieces to make the puzzle. If you understand, it's kind of like when you do the border on the puzzle. If you do the border, then you can get that done and out of the way, and then what you're looking for on your other pieces. That's the way I kind of look at it. So, like, just on a basic level, the things that are supposedly going on the news and in people's lives and this and that, and people worried about this and that, about things that there's no proof about, and different things like that, you know, it's pretty obvious how fake it is. It's beyond obvious, and it's sad that people don't comprehend it, because what it is it keeps people down. And not only does it keep them down, but they're being mocked to their faces mostly on a lot of different levels. There's so many different situations and whatnot where people are just being mocked to their face about things that may or may not be going on, which they're not. But, you know, there's a lot of different topics being talked about all at once right now too. So, you know, it's hard to, you know, kind of simplify everything when there's so much. And, you know, I have a lot of information from years of, you know, I'm a kind of a detail type, you know, I can understand what's going on with details and stuff like that. So, you know, yeah, so, okay, I don't know where you're going, so I'm just gonna turn here. People are out today, I tell ya. Yeah, because, like I said, everything in the world is just so mental, and if you understand how the mind works, how the brain works, and how it can be manipulated and controlled on just a basic level of being lied to and being, you know, promised certain things, or take something away and give it back, or give something for as a reward. Like, a lot of people don't understand how that kind of stuff works. So I want to do videos on that for sure, about how, like, the brain works and how, you know, everything that you hear and whatnot, it affects you, and it's stored in your mind. And then, oh, we got a texter on the phone in the car. Good job, pal. Oh, someone else. Looks like they're eating. That's awesome. Good job, pal. Yeah, so, you know, you hear things on the news and from celebrities and from other people who have heard things, and they all think they know things, but the whole point is the people on the TV and the news and everything, they are in on the whole plan to keep everybody down and whatnot, and to confuse people and make them sad and divide people amongst any way they can, because the point is the system was built around a lot of that stuff. So if we could get people to stop arguing and arguing over just nonsensical things like politics or something on the news that they one person agrees with something, another person doesn't, you know, different things like that, that the system would get weakened. And the weaker the system is, the better it is, because the system is there just to keep everyone down. So, you know, that's just how it works. And they teach everybody, well, you know, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, and this is the way to do everything. And there's not necessarily one way to do everything for the most part. You can learn your own way, and I know a lot of little tricks and stuff like that, you know, that are used, and tricks to just survive and whatnot. Just whether it's more of like a common sense type level thing or whatever that maybe people haven't thought of, that just to me came very easily and, you know, have worked for me. So hopefully I'll get to that eventually as well. But yeah, like I said, there's a lot of different things that are always mentally going on, and it affects people. And if it doesn't affect them now, it's getting stored in their brain, and then when something happens, it affects them. So instead of being a reactive person, it's better to be ahead of things, whether that's in the survival type situations where you have stuff ready to go, and you know, for example, like shortages and the like food shortages, job shortages, that kind of thing, or it's cash shortage, inability to have things on you, resource-based different things, whether it's money and other things, food, water, emergency supplies, anything like that. Things as well as inflation, where money is just losing more and more value because things cost so much more and whatnot. So it's just harder on everyone. So the best thing to do is just to get stuff and be ready. Get as much as you can, so then you don't have to spend as much money later when you could have bought it sooner. Buy it, get it out of the way, and then things will eventually go up, because that's just the system. It's going to go up, and because people still need a lot of stuff. They need these things to survive. They're so used to the system of going to the store, buying something, this, that, online shopping, this, that. They have to get stuff. They can't grow, food for themselves, or they have to pay their bills and stuff like that. Eventually, all that stuff not only is going to go up, but you're not going to have access to a lot of that stuff in a pretty near future. Eventually, it's not that far away. Most definitely. I always think that. I always look at things as anything can change. Everything that is given and allowed to happen, anything that you have, that you own or whatever, any good situation can be taken in a moment's notice. So you got to prepare for that kind of thing. Prepare for the worst, because if you don't prepare for the worst, then you're going to get walked on in life. That's just kind of how it goes. If you don't know what could happen from this or that, or how this connects to this or that, it's very likely that you'll fall for something, or that kind of thing. Something happens and you're not prepared for it. Long story short. So just from a mental standpoint, it's easiest to understand. It's easiest to understand that things from the top down, like I've said. Where if you understand the system and whatnot, and the tricks used by the system, then you'll understand things from a lower level. It just depends on what is going to make somebody think about something. Because that's mainly what I try to do. I try to get people to think about things in a more of a common sense and moral way. If that should be a good way to make people understand things, because it's so obvious. I don't get the chance to necessarily cover each topic or whatever all the time, but I try to make videos and whatnot as much as I possibly can. And I'm always thinking about, what can I cover? How can I talk about this to make people understand? And just in general, whether you're brand new to understanding things or you're learning things as you go type deal. Because a lot of people, they know a lot of esoteric things. They just don't have details or whatever. They don't have the connection between this or that. They understand something doesn't make sense from a certain level. And, it's very obvious type deal. So, that's just the situation there. Basically, what you have to understand is there's so many people working for the system. The people that you see on TV, whether it's news or celebrities or, billionaires and different things like that, these people that we're supposed to strive to be and this and that, which will get you nowhere in life, first of all, and second, you can't get there because that's part of the system. It's another mental trick. You can't get to the level that you want to be at. That's just a fact. You can't do it unless you're part of the system and whatnot. And to be part of the system, for the most part, you have to be born into the system. And trust me, you don't want to be part of the system literally in the sense of born into it, because you have to do a lot of awful things that you couldn't fathom at the moment, possibly, just to get in and to be a part of it, and just completely messed up things. It's something that you would not want to be a part of. And you don't want to be part of the system in the way of feeding the system, is what I call it, where you don't question things, you don't have your own mindset, you don't think for yourself, you're very with the system and whatnot, very much for everything that's going on in the world, or just, unaware or non-caring about it, because you should care about it. First of all, if you don't care about it for yourself or whatever, you should care about it for others. That's just a basic common sense level thing. Whether you have your own children, or you have family members, you have grandchildren, you have whatever, just any of your family, any of your friends, just the average person, they don't deserve the treatment that we all go through because of the system. So the more and more that we can detach from the system and learn for ourselves and not follow all this nonsense and fall for everything and stop relying on so much stuff that we don't need, and relying on all these people that come in and claim to be good for our safety and whatnot, and all these new rules and everything that seem to always pop up, that people are just like, oh, okay, well, you say it's good for me, then it must be good for me. No, that's part of the system too, is massive amounts of lies and massive amounts of deflection. Basically, what you see on the news, a lot of times, a lot of news stories and whatnot, when I see the news, I look at how much of a mind wreck it is to people, because all it is, they tell you what to think, they use their fake emotion and whatnot to really sell it. They use hypnosis type of tactics, where they're looking at you, they look you in the eye and whatnot, and that's another way of hypnosis. Your brain falls asleep, in a sense, when you're relaxed and you're watching the news and you hear something and it's stored in your mind. So then eventually that'll connect to something in the future, and you will eventually start to agree with something they said or whatever. Or they'll put a fake story out, a fake situation, and say, well, this wouldn't have happened if this would have, if they would have followed what they were supposed to do, or this or that type deal. Because that's just part of how it works. That's so many things get implanted into people's minds, and they don't understand how the brain works and that kind of thing in general. Okay, so let's get back to the system in general. So like I said, all the people that you're really hearing from that they always seem to have opinions too, and they all seem to agree for the most part on the same opinions. If you hear things, whether it's the news, or it's the celebrities, or it's these fake, I don't know what you call them, like they're like billionaires and celebrities and stuff like that. They have, so much control and whatnot over people, in the sense of people listen to what they say for some reason. Athletes, musicians, different things like that. They believe in everything they hear, and they don't say to themselves, why should I care about what these athletes are saying or what these musicians are saying? Which, I'm going to get into eventually covering these sports and all this kind of stuff, and the mind games behind them and everything, to get people to understand how everything works. Because that's all they're there for. That's another big thing about the system. Talent has nothing to do with being in the system and whatnot. Depending on, regardless of where you're at, if you want to be a musician, or you want to be an athlete, or you want to be an actor, or, so on and so forth. The whole mental mindset is that you can't get to that point without being part of the system and whatnot. It doesn't have to do with, this person has such great talent or whatever. This person has such a great, mindset or whatever. Well, gosh, buddy, I didn't know you were going to go that fast. You almost hit me. Jeez. There's no reason you're going that fast. Anywho. Oh, man. Yeah, it has nothing to do with talent or your mindset or anything like that, or you agree with something, so you don't have to be part of the, the regular people system. You're a part of the system, of regular people. And the regular people, they're just like going along with everything for the most part. There's people that just go along with everything, and they don't think about things, and they don't treat each other, like, people don't treat each other right, and they don't think about so many different things and whatnot. So they turn on each other. They fall for all the tricks. You can't fall for the tricks of, oh, be divided because of this reason, or be isolated because of this reason, or just in general type deal, that people don't use their morals and they don't have a good mindset and whatnot to comprehend everything. People have lost their values and their morals. Between losing their morals and stuff like that, it's hard to really be a part of everything and understand things like people should. And between losing your morals and being distracted and listening to nonsensical opinions, and being stuck doing the same things that you've always done, working the same situations. People are so creatures of habit, and the repetition has kept them down for so long. If you can understand that the mind picks up things when it's repetition is the key to the control of the mind. So if you're under the repetition of something, you've heard something over and over, you believe it. You have a lot harder time learning things and thinking for yourself when you've had things beaten into your head about how nonsensical things are and whatnot. So yeah, that's the whole situation there. Because you'll hear the same thing over and over. Every movie has the same plot and whatnot. It's the same concept every time. Pretty much most music has the same nonsense, the same names, the same agendas. I can get into certain agendas and whatnot, what's going on type deal. And, eventually. But like I said, I'm just doing as a basic thing. And when I start going and whatnot, it's hard for me to necessarily focus on a topic, and it's hard for me to pick something and explain so many different things because there's so little time and there's so much information and whatnot. So it's good to just stick with it, and eventually you'll learn piece by piece. The point that I'm trying to make is how obvious things are, and how easy it is to tell how nonsensical everything is, and how fake everything is, and how controlled everything is. And then we can all learn together, teach each other and whatnot. So we have that mindset, and we have the ability to not need all of the nonsense in the world, all the things we grew up with and whatnot, just the conditioning and whatnot. It doesn't go away, and there's just more and more of it. And for the most part, it's hard for me to enjoy a lot of different things. I kind of just, when I'm relaxed or whatever, and I want to find something just, to enjoy or whatever, just by myself, if I'm by myself and whatnot, and I just want to relax on something, or I'm with other people and I just want to have like a good time or whatever, it's very few and far between that I actually truly enjoy myself on a lot of things, because I understand what's going on and all the tricks being played, and from the hypnosis type things to the storing of information in the brain, so people are whether they get showed something, it's called predictive programming, where they're showed something ahead of time and they're desensitized to it, or they're deflected off of something, meaning they make something bad into something good, inversion and whatnot. And then they just believe everything that they're being told, and they hear something that sounds bad and they make it sound good, or something good, they make it bad. You know, that's a massive thing too. You know, from just a moral standpoint, you know, of taking people's rights away and whatnot, and then people ask them to take rights away, or, you know, there's these new technologies or whatever coming out that people always want. They always want to be the first in line to be so far ahead of someone else or whatever, or, you know, different nonsense. You know, like I said, the system is very big. It's not one country, it's all countries. And that's another thing to just understand from a very basic standpoint. You're being lied to every day, all day. Anything you see on the news is just nonsense. It's almost a comedy, which comedy is a form of deflection, because most things that are deflected, they make a joke out of it. Whether, like, they'll bring up something completely nonsensical that has nothing to do with the news story or whatever, and they make connections there, and that stores in people's mind. So when someone tries to tell someone about this or that, and they try to teach them, and they try to talk about these things, and they say, oh, you must believe in this thing, you're in this group, or you're in that. It's like, none of this stuff is even real. Like, none of these groups or whatever. There's no such thing as politics and whatnot. There's no such thing as voting for things. You know, people believe that you vote for the person who supposedly runs your country or whatever. First of all, there ain't a person running the country. The people running the country, quote unquote, the TV actors that play the presidents and whatnot, they're actors. They're the best actors on TV, and they're put there to play a role. And they know what they're going to do, and they are going to follow whatever order they get. And some of them will come off a certain way, and some will come off a different way. And that's the whole point. That everyone, all the different presidents and whatnot, they go for different things, and, you know, then it seems like the media, whichever, you know, they have their fake political side or whatever that people want to identify with or whatever, then the other side just argues, then that side argues back. It's just bicker, back, forth, like little children, and it keeps everybody completely down from a political mindset that people actually believe that votes count and whatnot. And then they even come out and tell you, like, a lot of this stuff, they tell you to your face, you know, the calm before the storm, things are going to get a lot worse before they get better, you know. And then they come out with stupid stories about voter fraud and this and that, and this person cheated their way in, or this person's not going to accept being kicked out of office or whatever, and then they do. You know, and they say, well, this guy is so good or whatever. I'm for this guy's opinion. This and that. He's been good for us. Meanwhile, their policies and different things, all the things that have happened under their watch. I mean, if I'm playing the game, like, I'm playing the game understanding it in the sense of from these people's mindset who actually believe it, and I tell them it's not real, this and that. You know, it's the same concept with every politician and whatnot, every president and whatnot. They all lie to, you know, if I'm to believe that people actually vote these people, which I don't in any way, shape, or form. There's no way these people are voted in. They're picked. They've always been picked because they fit the agenda. You know, they follow their orders from people way above them in other countries, and, you know, it's a network of many thousands. You know, thousands of people are in on it, but there's millions of us, so we can understand things and not fall for the tricks and whatnot, and we can understand how things work and not be affected by what they do and these stupid little rules and stuff they come out with. You know, different places have different rules and different, you know, that kind of thing. Because everything's supposed to become one. That's a big thing to understand. All these countries, they're gonna try to become one big country and whatnot. And with that comes the removal of any quote-unquote freedom that we have, any type of different mindset, any type of moral and whatnot. It'll be, this is the way it is, and you're going to be a part of it, and that's just how it is. And that's not fine with me. Never will fly with me. But if people understood these things and how obvious these things were, it's a lot more easy to counteract. It's a lot easier to counteract. You know, it's just bicker back and forth, like I said, about this or that. And then they do their staged events or whatever, their fake news stories or whatever. And that's all news too. You know, in my opinion, one side is just complete nonsense. The one channel, the CNN, Clinton broadcast or Clinton News Network, which will get, you know, so deep into who owns this and who's controlled by this and who, you know, that kind of thing. The CNN type crap seems like, I don't know that I've seen anything from CNN that had any factual basis whatsoever at all. Where it's just messing with your head, like so much nonsense, and seeing who falls for it and whatnot. And it's very sad because people fall for that stuff and they believe in, you know, there's people around the world dying of illness, or, you know, there's these awful people that are doing this or believe in this, or so on and so forth. It's just so ridiculous. And the other, you know, the Fox News and that kind of stuff, they're the same concept, you know. They agree with the same things, that people should be injected and they should be, you know, they act like they're so, I'm trying to think of the word, like, they're so moral and wholesome and just in general, you know, they act like they're more normal and moral and this and that, but these people are doing the same things that these other people are doing. And the point is, these people are all working together to keep everybody down, and that's just how it works from a lot of different, you know, situations and whatnot. Because if you can keep people down, then there you go. Excuse me here, I got stuck behind a truck here. I'm going through a parking lot, counteract, because there's just a random truck, big semi, sitting in the middle of the road. And its hazards on and just parked there for some reason. So that kind of took me off my game there. But yeah, from the political standpoint to the celebrity mindset to all the mental things, if you understand how mental everything is and that kind of thing, it's so much easier to counteract it and to survive in the system, not be like miserable and whatnot all the time, and believing in this and that and hoping for someone to come and fix it or whatever when things will never get fixed. That's just how it's gonna go. You know, that's how it works. So I think that pretty much covers, you know, for the most part what I was trying to get at. I'm pretty much at my destination here, so yeah, I think that's a good start. Appreciate you guys checking out the video very much. Like I said, I try to make as much content as I can. I know a lot of it's kind of all over the place and whatnot, but I'm doing pretty much the best I can with all the, keeping up with things and, remembering things and taking notes and that kind of thing to teach others and whatnot. So, hope you guys enjoyed, and you guys just mentally stay on a good path and whatnot, and don't fall for tricks, and don't let things bother you in the sense of feeling bad about this or that, or whatnot, because we all need to work together is the point. We outnumber the system. We have a lot more power than people act like we do, and things are just nonsensical. So a lot more will be elaborated on very soon. So thank you for watching, listening, whatever.